tell you who I believe are the five most, maybe dangerous, let's use the word dangerous guys in that life that I'm aware of. Some of them I knew, some of them I did not know. They were before my time, or I just didn't know them. But they had a reputation. And this reputation was something I learned not only, from media, but from people that knew them, were involved with them, were around at that time and had experience with them. Notably, my father. Look, my father lived to be 103. He was around a lot of guys, a lot of guys. He knew a lot of people. So I had a lot of conversation with my dad. He filled me in on a lot of things. And so did some other people. We used to sit down sometimes in the social clubs and talk, and things would come up. About certain people. So I am going to name the 15. I'm going to go with 15 because they're the ones that stand out to me in my mind. There could be more, but these are certainly on the list. There could be more that I'm not naming, but these 15 are certainly on the list. So I'm going to talk about it, give you a list. They're not in any particular order. I'm just going to give you the list and tell you who I believe is who. These are people that you know of, okay? I'm sure. All right, let's go to number one. Anthony Center. Allegedly 10 plus murder. He was part of the Gemini twins, him and Testa. But he was part of the DeMeo crew. Roy DeMeo was a killer, no question about it. Yes, he was a dangerous guy to people that crossed him. Wasn't dangerous to me. I had nothing to do with him. I have to worry about Roy. I knew Roy. As a matter of fact, Roy did me a favor one time. He had a chop shop. They were stealing cars and chopping them up and selling them. All right. His crew got a hold of two of my Jaguars when I had a place in Queens. I had them parked outside. I went out, they were both gone. I got in touch with Roy. By that evening, I got him back. So that was the best part of my dealings with Roy DeMeo. Got me my cars back. But his crew was the one that stole them. My friends, you may not have heard, but I now have a wine branded in my name. Franzi. Wine. I'm very proud of it. It comes from the world's first vineyards. We have alcoholic wine and non-alcoholic wine, several varieties, fruit varieties. You're going to love it. Different than anywhere you've ever tasted before. So enjoy this with your friends. Go to franziswine.com. An offer you shouldn't refuse, but a taste you're going to love.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
Roy DeMeo, I said this many times. The mob did not make him a killer. He would have been a killer without the mob. The mob just made it easier for him. Gave him more people to kill, maybe. I don't know. Made it easier for him. But he was a serial killer, no doubt about it. And Anthony Center was part of the Gemini twins under him. They had a certain method of doing things. You know what it is? They put him, I don't want to go into all the gross details. You know it already. You could look it up, whatever. But I put Anthony Center as a pretty dangerous guy. He was pretty skilled at what he did. Let's go to Joey Testa. He was the other half of the Gemini twin. He was inseparable from Center in life and in crime. And he was one of the two guys that perfected the Gemini method. I'm not going to go into that. It's too gross. We don't have to. But his claim and methodical style made him very deadly effective, no question about it. And it says he struck terror even in fellow mobsters. That's not true. When you say fellow mobsters, maybe guys that were not made, but guys that were made didn't have to be afraid of him. There was nothing that he was going to do unless he got an order from the top. And if he didn't get an order from the top and tried to do something, he'd be in trouble for it. So we didn't have to fear each other in that regard. Who I feared my boss. Like I said, he had the life and death over me. If I would have done something wrong, he could have had me killed. No question about it. But you don't have to fear other people in that life because you weren't doing anything and you were just as capable as they were. You may not have been as deadly, but let me tell you something. If you know somebody's going to kill you, what do? You act first. John Gotti, Paul Castellano, you act first. So, and you're capable. So you don't worry about that. Tommy DeSimone, you've seen him in the movie in Goodfellas, allegedly 10 plus murders. And by the way, Joey Testa, along with Senta, allegedly 11 plus murders. I'm not going by the numbers. I don't know if they're true or not. I know that he did a lot of damage in that regard. Tommy DeSimone, you saw him. I got to tell you, Joe Pesci, just brilliant. He did a brilliant job in that movie. No question about it. I did meet Tommy on a few occasions. Didn't know him well, but did meet him. Obviously, a different crew. He was an a Gambino guy, and inspiration for Joe Pesci's character in Goodfellas. His tally was far higher, people say, than the 10 plus guys that he allegedly killed. Let me tell you something. When law enforcement gives you these numbers, when informants give you these numbers, don't rely on them. They always try to exaggerate, or don't embellish. Don't rely on the numbers. The bottom line is he was a dangerous guy to others. It wasn't a guy that you messed with, and that's the bottom line. And what happened to him? He got killed. He disappeared. All right. All right, now let's go to some people that I didn't know but have a reputation. I'll read a little bit about this. Joseph Joe the Animal Barbosa, allegedly 20 plus murders. He was a pretty violent guy. I did hear about him from my dad. He was an enforcer for the Patriarca family in New England. Barbosa earned his nickname through sheer savagery. I do believe that. He built a reputation of one of Boston's most feared killers. That's true. Barbosa's intimidation tactics extended beyond killing. He terrorized anyone who crossed him. He was a bad guy, no question about it. Even my dad talked to me about him. In 1976, after turning government witness, he was gunned down in San Francisco in a mob hit. And by the way, these are my own notes. I make my notes so I don't forget anything. So I put him up there. He's a guy that you had to be afraid of. You had to fear. Sammy the Bull Gravano. All right. Sammy admitted to 19 murders. Doesn't mean that he participated in all of the 19 murders. When I say that, he didn't pull the trigger. Sammy himself said that, but he participated in some way, shape, or form in 19 murders. Gravano rose to underboss of the Gambino family. That's true, proving himself in blood, personally killing 19 men. I don't think he was promoted. John Gotti didn't promote him to underboss because he killed all of these guys. That's not true. John promoted him to underboss because he promoted him to underboss. Felt that that was a position he should hold. It wasn't because of the 19 murders. His mix of intelligence and violence made him invaluable to John Gotti. He was his underboss. You know the story with Sammy. You've heard much about him. I'm sure if you're following me, you probably follow him. No need to get into that. You know his side of the story. He orchestrated and supervised murders at the highest level of the Gambino regime. Again, I don't know if that's true either. I really don't. The highest level. I don't even want to comment on any of that. Sammy's a friend of mine now. I'm telling you straight out. Okay. I happen to like Sammy right now. I like his family. He's a friend of mine. So I'm not saying anything to judge him or throw any onus on him. Sammy has spoken about what he did. I believe he's sorry for what he did. He's tried to turn his life around. Who am I to judge him? We were both in that life. Let's leave it at that. You know what happened with him and Gotti. He's on the list because if I didn't put him on the list, everybody was saying, why don't you talk about Sammy? He said he committed 19 murders. He admitted to committing 19 murders. Why didn't you talk about it? So I put him on a list for no other reason than that. Sammy, was he a capable guy? He will tell you he was capable. Yes, he was capable. No question. Frank Abendando, allegedly over 50 murders, maybe 60 plus. Known as the Dasher, Abendando was one of Murder Inc.'s, yes, most feared killers. He earned his nickname for the speed and efficiency of his murders. Murder Inc. They had a lot of murderers, a lot of bad guys in Murder Inc. I did a whole video about it. Bad group of people. They were the hired organization for Lucky Luciano and the syndicate, and they did at least over 400 or 500 contract killings. People say as many as 1,000, and I think that number could be true. I heard it from other people. It was a high number. So he was one of them. Law enforcement later linked him to more than 60 killings, making him one of the syndicate's most active executioners. He was convicted and executed in the electric chair in 1942, and that ended his career. You know, when A.B. Kid Twist Rellis became an informant for Dewey, who became the governor. He was a prosecutor at the time. Rellis implicated a lot of guys. A lot of guys became informants. It happens all the time. You know, when they get pressure, they become informants and they start implicating everybody. A lot of guys were a lot of the executioners in Murder Inc., and there were a few of them. We'll get into a couple more. A lot of them, you know, were sentenced to either life in prison or death. Like electric chair. Let's keep going. Abe Kid Twist Rellis, 11 plus murders, but he was tied to 85 through his own testimony. He said he killed as much as 85, 90, 100 murders. A Murder Inc. hitman, Relis specialized in strangulation and ice pick killings. Bad stuff. He confessed to numerous murders and implicated dozens of others. Relis was a key government witness, helping bring down Murder Inc. by detailing 85 plus mob killings. In 1941, he mysteriously fell from a hotel window while he was under police guard. Did he fall? Did the mob get to the cops in the room? Something happened. Somebody was able to come in there. I don't think he fell out a window, my opinion. But he's the guy that really busted up Murder Inc. And it was Dewey, the prosecutor, that really came down on them. And you know the story. I'm not going to be redundant, but go back and look at my video. It's only a couple of days ago. All right, number 8, Harry Happy Mayone, 20 plus murders. Mayone, another Murder Inc. guy. He was a killer. He was known for his brutality and loyalty to the syndicate. He participated in numerous contract hits across New York. He favored gruesome methods, often stabbing or beating victims before finishing them off. Like many of his peers, Mayone was eventually convicted and executed in the electric chair in 1942. Brutal stuff. All Murder Inc. They were a bad organization. Harry Pittsburgh Phil Strauss, 100 plus murders. Again, he was Murder Incorporated's most prolific executioner. He was credited with more than 100 murders. His adaptability made him deadly with ice picks, guns, strangulation, or even fire. Let me tell you, there's one thing about putting a gun on somebody and killing them. There's another thing about ice picking and strangulation. And all these other methods. I mean, there's gotta be a screw loose. You gotta be under demonic control when you're doing something like that. There's no question. Take it from me, people. It's ugly. And to want to labor like that, I mean, I mean, the thought of it, and I was a street guy, the thought of it, like many of you, I hope, get the same feeling as I do. It's horrible. There's got to be something wrong with you when you're killing people in that regard. Like I said, it's one thing to put a gun in somebody's head, fire and get the hell out of there. But it's another thing to do the kind of things that I'm describing here. There's something wrong with you. I don't care who you are. He epitomized the syndicate's industrialized approach to killing, treating murder as routine business, convicted and executed again In 1941, Strauss remains one of the most prolific hitmen in American mob history. So you'll have this. For those of you that are fascinated by this stuff, you got the names. Louis Lepke, Bookwalter. I named him the other day, 80 plus murders. Though technically a boss, Lepke oversaw Murder Inc. and directly ordered dozens of killings. His role in creating a professional killing squad makes him unique in mob history. He was one of the formers of Murder Inc. Remember, Luciano wanted this organization. He actually wanted to minimize random violence on the streets. So he, with the help of Meyer Lansky and Lepke, they put this organization together to do the contract killings all over the country, not only in New York or Chicago, all over the country. They sent these people out everywhere. And they were Jews and Italians and people of other ethnicity also. So it wasn't only Jews and Italians, but mainly Jews and Italians. Yes, they put this whole organization together. For it lasted for about 11, 12 years until Rellis started to become an informant. Praise God. Bookwalter's organization turned murder for hire into a nationwide business, enforcing syndicate discipline with deadly precision. He was the only major mob boss executed in the electric chair and put to death in 1944. Again, they called him a mob boss. He was a Jew, wasn't Italian. He wasn't a made guy. You can't be made unless your father is Italian. Your mom can be something else. I hear they might have changed that now. Maybe it's mom and dad at this point. I don't. What's it? What? It's not going to make a difference. But anyway, you got to be Italian, no question about it. So he was the boss of Murder Inc., Jewish boss of Murder Inc., very close to Lansky, close to Bugsy Siegel, close to Albert Anastasia. All right, Roy DeMeo, everybody's familiar with him. They say 70 to 200 murders from his crew in total. He was in the Gambino family. You know that most feared killing squad. True. I knew all about it during my era. Absolutely true. Possibly hundreds of murders. That's what they say. I can't put a number on it. I know he was very prolific in that regard. His crew perfected dismemberment, yes, as a disposable method, making many victims vanish without a trace. I'm sorry, but that happens to be true. DeMeo himself was eventually murdered in 1983. He was left in the trunk of his car. True, I remember that. Likely by orders of his own family. Not likely, it was by orders of his own family. He was getting too wild. And some things happened. And you don't last when you're like that. There's no question. You can't be around people say, what do we need this guy for? And they get rid of him. Not going to worry about him. When you're a mad hatter, when you're a loose cannon, you're not going to last in that life. Discipline is everything. When you start doing things on your own and you're not following orders, people start to get nervous. We don't need this guy around. Boom, get rid of him. My friends, back in the day, we never let a big occasion pass without the whole crew getting together. That was one thing we always did right. Well, 75 years, 3/4 of a century, that's a big occasion. We're going to be getting together. We're going to share some great wines, some great stories. We're going to celebrate the right way. Click the link in the description. Come celebrate with me, and I hope to see you all there. That's an All For You Shouldn't Reviews. See you there. All right. This Richard the Iceman Kuklinski, he was convicted of 5 murders, and they say he did over 100. I don't know if that's true. Did he work with Roy DeMeo as much as they say he did? I don't think so. I didn't hear that at the time. I know it came out that way in the movie The Iceman. I don't know if that's actually true. But he worked with mob families in New York, New Jersey, convicted of 5 murders. He claimed he did 5 more. He was infamous for experimenting with cyanide and freezing bodies to obscure time of death, adding a chilling layer to his reputation. Again, this is sickening stuff. It even gets me sick. And it should get everybody else sick. Through many claims remain disputed, Kuklinski's image as a remorseless contract killer has made him a dark legend in mob history.
Want to strengthen your math skills? Try Brilliant. It's an effective and fun way to learn, built for the way your mind actually works. Every lesson is visual and interactive, so the math...
Well, he's dark in any history. Come on. You know, you're the Iceman. Contract killer devised these methods of killing people. You're just dark, period. Anthony Gas Pop Queso. Before I get into the gas pipe, he did not invent the whole gas tax scheme. Claimed he did. Not true. He had a couple of the Jewish guys, or one of them in particular, under him. He didn't do it. And believe me, I'm sorry, but he didn't do it as well as we did. We ran that operation for a long time, and Gas Pipe was really just on the outskirts of it. He just had one of the guys. He wasn't involved in it. He didn't get involved in it day to day. None of that stuff. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying he didn't get involved. That's it. He claimed more. Queso was a Lucchese underboss. He was, and one of the most sadistic mafia killers in U.S. history. Could say that. He admitted to at least 36 murders because he became an informant, and he ordered many more. Well known. I knew all about Queso. Yes, a lot of what they're saying here is true. He infamously put NYPD detectives on his payroll. Absolutely true. Using them to track and even execute targets. True. Captured in 1993. You know that's the whole story. You know, the mob cops. We know that. I'm not going to get into it all, but it's true. He was captured in 1993, became a government witness, but he was deemed too violent and manipulative, spending the rest of his life behind bars. They threw him out of the witness protection program. There is some indication there. I don't know if it's true or not that had something to do with Sammy Guevara. I don't know. Okay, this is what I heard. This is what's been reported. I can't say that for a fact. I didn't speak to Sammy about it. All I know is he became an informant, and then they threw him out of the program. They didn't, and they threw out all his testimony. They claimed he was committing other crimes or he was lying, whatever it was, and that's very, very possible. Charlie Caniglia, I knew him. 20 plus murders, suspected of up to 60. He was a Gambino guy. I knew Charlie. I actually liked him. A Gambino enforcer closely tied to John Gotti, Carniglia was suspected in numerous murders, including law enforcement officers. He was feared for disposing of bodies. Charlie, I actually liked him. A Gambino enforcer closely tied to John Gotti. Carniglia was suspected in numerous murders, including law enforcement officers. He was feared for disposing of bodies in acid. Again, pretty gruesome. He served as a personal hitman for the Gotti faction, carrying out high profile executions with cold provision. Convicted in 2009, Carniglia remains one of the deadliest confirmed killers in the Gambino family's modern history. You know, let's just say I hate to talk about people that I knew, even if I didn't know them well, but I ran into them. I met them at a wedding. I had occasions to meet them. I don't like to talk about it, but he was a pretty brutal guy. Let's put it that way. Okay, last but not least, Albert Anastasia. 100 plus murders, again, part of Murder Inc. When Bookwalter left, Anastasia took over. He was known as the Lord High Executioner and the Mad Hatter. He ran Murder Incorporated. He did. I talked about this again a few days ago. He personally killed or ordered dozens of hits. His tally is often cited at well over 100. Could be. Feared even within the mob, Anastasia was infamous for sudden and ruthless violence, earning a reputation as one of the most terrifying hitmen of all time. He was a bad guy, no question about it. You know what happened to him? In 1957, he was assassinated in a Manhattan barber chair, one of the most dramatic mob hits in history. You've seen that photo a million times. He was sitting in his barber chair, and I'm not going to name the people you probably heard about, but somebody I knew very well was one of the alleged killers. They came in on him and they shot him while he was getting a shave, and that was that. So those are the 15 that stand out. Michael, what happened to Greg Scarpa? Greg was known to be a pretty bad guy. There's no question about it. He was in my crew and my family. I knew Greg very, very well. He was no stranger to violence. Let's put it this way. I'm not going to put a tally on how many guys he killed. Listen, we didn't sit around every day wondering how many guys were killed or whatever. We heard what we heard when we heard it. I can only say this. Greg was a very capable guy in that regard. And he was kind of a cold guy. I mean, he wasn't the guy that you wanted to be around all the time. I don't know how, to say it any differently than that.